The Great Depression from 1929 to 1939 by Victoria Belton. The Great Depression was one of the hardest economic times during the American early histories of American history. The Great Depression began in the fall of 1929, not long after the stock market crashed in 1929 of October. Soon after the stock market crashed, consumer spending and investment dropped off, causing declines in industrialization, and as a result of many companies laid off their workers due to not enough funds. In near 1933, nearly 14 to 15 million people were forced without a job, and nearly half America's population of bank accounts were wiped clean. This was never a clear turn until around 1939 started World War II, which started the American industry to start again. Many people believe that because of the stock market crash, this is why the Great Depression started. In reality, though, Americans were already in a recession at the start of the summer of 1929, months before the crash of the stock market. This was caused by not enough consumer spending and unsold goods being stockpiled up by not enough buying. This of course started a rage, and on October 24, 1929, a record 12.9 million shares were dumped or traded, making it known as Black Thursday. 5 days later, nearly 16 million shares ended up being the same way, and this day was known as Black Tuesday. This led to many people not wanting to spend money. This eventually caused factories and businesses to slow down production and, even worse, fire employees. The fortunate ones who were still employed had wages cut and money lost. Though President Hoover and other political leaders promised that the matter just had to run its course and it would be over soon, matters became worse over the next 3 years. Starting in 1930, nearly 4 million Americans were looking for work but could not find it. The number rose in 1931 by 2 million people. All the while this rose, production dropped by half. Many people who had homes nearly 6 years ago were now lining up for soup kitchens and sleeping in cardboard boxes because they had no home anymore. Many farmers were also stuck as they did not have enough supplies to harvest their crops, so they were forced to leave their crops in the field to rot while other people around the United States starved. In the fall of 1930, many Americans lost trust in the banks and began to pull out their money to keep for themselves. This happened again the spring and fall of 1931 and the fall of 1932. By the early 1933, many banks had closed their doors. Hoover tried to support the failing banks and help them reconstruct loans and offer employers to bring back their employees, but this did not work in the long run. In 1932, more than 13 to 15 million people were unemployed. This sent Americans on a different track, and in an overwhelming victory of the presidential election, Franklin D. Roosevelt, a Democrat, won. By his inaugural day, every bank in the United States was ordered to close because the United States government could not have enough money to pay all the government workers. FDR never gave up hope, though, and famously declared that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Immediately after FDR addressed that there would be a 4-day bank holiday in which all banks were closed so that Congress could pass reforms to reopen banks that had been recently closed. During the first 100 days in office, FDR aimed to establish industrial and agricultural production, created jobs, and started the recovery process. He then created the New Deal, which aided in the recovery of the Great Depression. The economy began to improve in the spring of 1933 when the GDP growing at the rate of 8% per year. FDR did not make the best after the New Deal with his career as presidency, though, ending by the 1937 era when the recession started back again. America today can relate to many different effects given by the way of the Great Depression and how much it has impressed our way of living. We as Americans are very cautious about our money and feel a need to secure within our banks in the United States, more than ever because of the Great Depression. Will this ever happen again, though? Of course, at some point, America is going to fall back on their knees. With the help of a great leader, America should come back in time like it did in 1939 with the Great Depression. Thank you for watching.